Interesting.
And he said, he's like, because I am socially Orthodox. I would feel much more comfortable if on her own time she wasn't Orthodox, but outwardly she covered her hair, she wore a wig, she wore skirts, because it's to me it's more about externals than, and that's in general true. I mean, I can't walk, you know, I do now, but like, you know, I mean, you walk in a shul with a different color yarmulke, and you're singled out, or you walk into, you know, it would be like that way anywhere, you know, if it's, you're not when in Rome. But in a lot of places, it's really valued. You know, the color of it's like, you know, it's racial profiling, man.
Hey, Heshy from down under in Sydney. I like your blog and read it often. Luke, you're okay as well. I always wondered if you two knew each other or thought you may get along.
I've never met him until tonight. I emailed him the other day because I was in L.A. and I found out he was in L.A. I had no idea. Shows how much I know. Thank you.
How have you dealt during your life when people didn't like you or were offended by you?
It's a good question. In terms of life in general, or actually what I do now?
I'd like to hear when you were a kid and then
when I was a kid?
Now. And now, so we can compare and contrast.
When I was a kid, I had very, like, not... I was never a violent kid, and I still am not, but I had very, like, outbursts. You know, if someone, you know, in shul, I would just scream, like, expletives, or I'd be very, like, yelling, and always, like, you know, did stuff like that. Like, I remember getting into a fight with a woman because she yelled at me for taking too much of the toffee crunch at, like, a hotel in Pesach. It's a very hot commodity in Pesach hotels in the tea room. They have this toffee crunch stuff, which is, like, really good, and I took too much, and this woman yelled at me, and I said, "What are you, an effing Nazi or something?" And we got into a whole fight about it, and I started cursing at her, and she yelled at me, and it was like, I didn't really need to do that. Now I'm much more, well, now I'm probably more subtle because people recognize me.
Right.
So now I have to be. But there's definitely, I was in shul, talking about external Judaism, I was in shul in Far Rockaway visiting my father, and I was dressed, you know, shirt, pants, and shoes. I wasn't wearing a suit at shul, and we're sitting at a table, and this guy turns to my father, and there's like 10 people at the table in the middle of shul, and he says, "Hey, you know, would your son go dressed like he is to the president? You know, like, you should be embarrassed your son dressing like this to shul." And I was like livid. This was after actually I'd become a little more well known. I was like I was gonna just literally like go crazy, and I just controlled myself. But if it was like 5 or 6 years ago and I wasn't recognized, in that contrast, I would have just definitely gone out. I mean, now, I mean...
You would have done what?
I would have started yelling at him, or, you know, something, and, like, you know, just give him a big F you. I definitely would have done that. No doubt. And, you know, my father would have secretly sided with me, but been, like, yelling at me and, like, you're an embarrassment or whatever. My dad's like that, you know. You know, he secretly sides with us, but he, you know, in public, he's very, like, you know, tame. A little bit tame.
So how much has it bothered you when people didn't like you?
Well, I mean, in high school I didn't care at all. That was fine. I really didn't care. In grade school, it bothered me. And after high school, it's never truly bothered me because I always thought of me as like a love-hate relationship. You really like me or you really hate me. It's not in between. There's no in between. Kids are like that too with me. Adults, girls, same thing. It's pretty much been like that. And there are a lot of people that are like, this guy just talks too much, and he just says what he wants to say, and he doesn't care. And I do care. I mean, I have a soft side to me, but there are, you know, definitely, you know, now I can respond with you know, it's more via email and via comments or things like that. I mean, if they're a good comment, I like Musser. I'm definitely down with people saying things that are against me, because I don't always write stuff that I agree with. I write stuff to provoke dialogue and discussion, and I don't always agree with what I write or what other people write that I put up, because I aim to have a completely open discussion between Jews of all sorts, and I don't want to limit it to one viewpoint like most Orthodox websites do. It's right-wing, that's it, you know, that's it. That's pretty much it. But once in a while, I got into a whole fight with this guy. I wrote actually, oh man, I should meet with this guy. The Orange County Task Force on Anti-Semitism called me a racist and an anti-Semite. I don't know who they are, but this guy named Ted Blue Weiss or something like that. wrote me, said, you should be ashamed of yourself. And it was in regards, I wrote, I've never ever written about Sparta before. Never, because I'm not Spartan. I don't know anything about it. There's a site called, like, The Enclavement, which is, like, Frum satire for Syrians, a little more dirty. And I just never really, you know, what am I going to do with it? So, and people bug me, and this one girl was like, come on, just do it. And I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to make fun of myself why I don't make fun of Sparta. And I wrote, an ignorant Ashkenazi makes fun of Sparta. And I said, you know why I don't make fun of Sparta? Because the only thing I know about Sparta is that they control the pizza racket in every city in the country. There's always this Spartak mechanic. They control the Jewish plumbing industry as well. There are always those little, like, short guys, like, in shul who always correct the laning, but you can't understand where they say. They're like, it was Baruch! And they're, like, always, you know, think there's, like, a mothball cut in their throats. Like, all these stereotypes. And, like, 50 comments in, it got into, like, someone sent it to someone and it became, like, this bash fest. How can you write this? You know, it's like, I was like, whatever, you know. This guy really was, you should be ashamed, you're sick. Your humor is not humorous. I was like, well, you're like NIMBYs. You know, it's great when I make fun of everyone else. When I make fun of you, it's bad. And that happens a lot. There's tons of NIMBYs on my site. Tons. It's great until I make fun of, like, retards or something. You know? And I wasn't making fun. I wrote this one post all about, like, you know, how I aided this family of Down syndrome, and I thought it was going to suck, and it rocked, and was like to learn a lesson. But no one reads the whole post. They read the first line, they read the title, and then they're like, oh shit, oh my god, I can't believe you said that, you know? Whatever. That's how it is in blog world. I mean, if you get someone, I mean, your site averages, I looked at our stats to compare, your site averages, the average page viewing is 1.5 pages, and the average time someone spends on your site is 1.5 minutes. See, if my site was like that, then I would get a lot more comments like that, but I actually have an average page view time of 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and they go an average of 2.7 pages in. So they're actually staying there. So maybe, I also put the read more tag, which bumps up your page. Little SEO tricks here and there I do. But.
So how do you feel about offending people? How do you feel about hurting people?
Well, I don't want to hurt people intentionally, but I think some stuff needs to be said, and some stuff is not offensive, and everyone can get offended by something. I'm telling you, I went into this restaurant once, and this guy came up to me, and he said, you know, you're really offensive. And I said, oh, what did you see? He said he saw this video where I was making fun of yeshiva guys thumb dipping. It's the most unoffensive thing possible. It's not offendable. You can't offend someone with thumb dips, and thumb dips for all the readers are like when people, it's kind of like Orthodox Jewish gang signs. Really Orthodox Jews, when they're learning Talmud, they'll go like this, and they'll thumb dip to, like, prove a point. And apparently there's some Kabbalistic meaning about taking the words out and bringing it out into the open. But I'm not so keen on that or whatever. But it's definitely like, you know, there's this, like, you know, yeah.
So you don't want to hurt people, but what if it's really funny?
Well, then, you know. I mean, look, I don't want to hurt people, but some people, just because I don't want to hurt people doesn't mean, I'm not trying to put up things necessarily to offend, but some people view it as that, you know what I'm saying? Some things are just like, they need LameTrapper. Let's talk about LameTrapper. LameTrapper is a schmuck, and he deserves, I mean, LameTrapper gave me my best week ever, and he gave a lot of bloggers their best week ever. I was #2 for Rabbi LameTrapper searches. And I had like 1,500 in a day. The first day I put it up, it was great. You know, I felt so honored to beat out Fel Messiah. I thought he was going to have that cornered, but I SEO'd that shit. So, and he's not so good with his SEO, I've noticed. But good. People hate on him, but he does a service. He provides a service, and he outs some people that should be outed. And you know, LameTrapper is a great example of someone who people, you know, were debating whether it should be talked about, and I think that. You know, and it should be talked about. It needs to be talked about because no one else is going to talk about it. You know, and if you have, you know, they're like other people talking about, yeah, little blogs with 50 hits, no one's going to read that stuff. You know, and if people approach the subject in a way that provokes discussion, this guy coerced a girl who was converting to have phone sex with him. That's wrong, and no one said a thing about it in the Haredi media. Of course, because it involves sex. You know, I figured it out, by the way. In the Haredi media, they won't talk about it unless it involves money because that affects them. So what? He molested a little boy. What does that affect us? As long as he donates to Coupa de Ear, it's fine, or whatever charity it is. You know, it's fine.